Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alexio Picco, the Managing Director of the Circle Group, and I welcome you to the Connecting EU Insights 2021 Spring Edition. We are in our second day of events. Yesterday, we had two very interesting ones on zero emission deep sea, zero emission and hydrogen in ports and shipping. And we have just finished the first one of the day about a 5G application in ports. But now we should have some fun also, some serious fun, let me say, with a double interview. And we have the pleasure, and I have the pleasure to have two Secretary General of the, let's say, two important associations representing ports in two different sea basins. And our idea was exactly, you know, to discuss about them, about the common you know, issues they are facing with, but also discussing about the differences of the two different sea basins. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A and we can try to manage, or during the workshop or later on, we can always answer. The forum will be recorded and will be also used later on. And so I'm really happy to ask to Bogdan Ołdakowski and Philippe Guillaumet to come on stage with me. Bogdan Ołdakowski is the Secretary General of the Baltic Port Organization, and Philippe Guillaumet is the Secretary General of the MEDPorts Association. So I prepared for you a number of questions. I will go one by one and mixing also a little bit, trying to touch all the different issues that ports are facing nowadays, and they are big issues, big challenges. I may say that it's a very, very interesting moment. Personally, I've been working in innovation since a long time, but now I really see a switch of industry policy, finance, really towards sustainability, really towards decarbonization. That was not the case before. So challenging and very exciting times, and ports becoming not only nodes as they were already in terms of connectivity and transport, but connectivity in energy also. So let's start. Thanks for joining, and I will start in alphabetic order and using the name. And so I will start from you, Bogdan, and let's start to talk about environmental protection. So in the Baltic, which are the top three issues that your ports would like to solve in terms of environmental protection, Bogdan?
Good afternoon, everybody. And Alexio, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and best regards from Gdańsk, Gdynia region, also to Philippe. So good to see you, Philippe, there. Well, when it comes to question about the environmental challenges, I think the Baltic ports are quite similar to European ports. And we know that ESPO prepared some time ago 10 main problems or areas with which European ports are dealing. And I have to say that in general, of course, you can find those challenges also in the Baltic ports. But if I should name some of them, I think the first would be how to approach emission reduction in port activities. That would be the first one, following, of course, all these talks and policies about the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And then the second one is the handling of sewage from passenger ships. We do have implemented new regulations in the Baltic that all passenger ships must deliver sewage to port reception facilities. And quite many ports are still dealing with some, issues or problems how to transfer those sewage from ships to municipal systems. So it's a really problem for many of them. And finally, I wouldn't name any third one, but I just mentioned that port development is important. Dust, noise, all of this stuff are very important for many Baltic ports. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bogdan. Philippe, are the same, really the same in the Med, or some differences? You are mute, Philippe.
No big differences, no big differences. I would say that it's difficult to talk about three top issues regarding the environment. I would say that there is one global issue, and this issue is to reduce the impact of the maritime transport on the environment. And when you think like this, after that you have several types of actions that the port could implement. And Bogdan talked about some of them. I can talk about, for example, energy production with renewable. I can talk about action to improve the air quality, and as well to improve or to reduce the impact of maritime transport to the environment. I want to talk about as well about digitalization and optimization of the logistic flows. It's very important to optimize all this flow to reduce the impact of the maritime transport on the environment. So, but I think there is other many challenges, but we have to think about like this. We have to think all our actions to with a capacity to reduce our impact and the port industry impact on the environment. That is important. There is no three top issues. There is one issue. This is my God. I have many examples of what the MEDPorts can do in this field. We have many action for that, but I think it's important to have this thing in mind at the beginning.
Thanks, Philippe. Just to come back to one of the points you have just touched, the role of the ports as energy hubs. Which are the trends that are now going on in the Med side? So how the MEDPorts are dealing with the challenge to become energy hub?
Many. It's my turn. Yeah. Yes. Many of our members have decided since several years now to become autonomous in the production of energy, because we have the surface and we have the infrastructure to do that and to be able to do that. Because we can make and develop and implement some solar farm. We can develop photovoltaic, as I said, but as well like windmill, or we can use the energy of the water and the waves. So we have many possibility in the ports, and I saw in my ports in Marseille, we are able to furnish and to provide some energy to the city, because we are self-sufficient in some case. So as we are at the middle of, we are the interface between the earth and the sea, and for us, it's not always the case in Bogdan. We have the sun. It's possible sorry, Bogdan. It's possible for us to use many renewable energies. So that's why, but it's clearly a willingness of many ports in Med to become autonomous in the production of energy, and especially green energy. And I talk about this kind of energy, but I could talk about hydrogen as well, or the development of LNG, and so on and so on.
Thanks a lot. But I know that Bogdan and the ports, they are working on a method to produce energy from snow. Right? So they are quite advanced on that. Sorry, I'm joking, Bogdan, of course. Okay, so coming to you, Bogdan, how the ports in the Baltic, they are dealing with this energy hub role?
Alexio, thank you for mentioning this, because we are a very innovative region in the Baltic, but making energy from snow, I haven't heard about it. So maybe that's a good idea. And Philippe, you have sun, we have wind. So we also have some nice source of energy here. But just being serious, of course, ports for many years traditionally have been a place where you could handle oil, gas, coal, and you can storage a lot of these resources. But now with all this change, of course, ports are changing. What we have observed in the Baltic, that in last few years, there were quite many investments in LNG, not only in big import terminals, but also in a smaller scale. So just to make LNG available for production or for industries in some remote areas, but also to be able to serve LNG as a fuel for shipping. So this is one trend that you could observe in last years. Secondly, of course, as Baltic region is a windy region, you could see many parts of wind turbines in many ports. And now I think with more and more offshore wind farms in the Baltic coming to the region, similarly to North Sea, we could see that more and more ports are investing in being a base for offshore wind farm production or logistic centers. So I think this is a quite new trend. LNG for last years, and then wind energy, and simply ports are serving for this development here in the Baltic.
Thanks a lot, and let's change a little bit the topic, and again to you, Bogdan. Let's talk about resilience. That is one of the key words for ports being strategic in the transport network. How the ports in the Baltic reacted following first the impact of the pandemic, first COVID-19 impacts, and how do you see the change coming to be even more flexible and resilient in the future, not only in terms of pandemic, but in terms of climate change or other kind of possible disturbances or things that could affect the continuity of the port?
Well, of course, all things started more than a year ago, and it was a quick change, I have to say. So what we could learn from that time, that ports have introduced new rules, new protocols very quickly, and there was no big problem with handling the cargo or even passengers if they were allowing to travel. So that was a really quick introduction of special rules just to protect against spreading of virus. And then, of course, ports introduced special rules for employees, just again for port workers, just again to be able to transfer goods and quite often first aids goods for our countries. And if you talk about and if you ask about resilience and how flexible and resilient ports should be in the future, I think this is the lesson that ports made, that they have to be prepared for unexpected events. So identifying the potential risks and being prepared for these potential risks by preparing a special protocol, special rules are very important. So I think quite many ports are learning this from the experience that we are having now, or that we had a year ago, how to be prepared for such events in the future. And I have to say that it's not that easy, because ports are a part of the quite complex stakeholder platform. You have many other stakeholders, the state agencies, ministries, all the regulators and agencies that checking everything, but also the private sector. So all these stakeholders must be prepared for the future unexpected event. And I think the Baltic ports are making these lessons now. Thank you.
What about the Med, Philippe? You are mute. You are mute. Sorry, Philippe.
Always in mute. Sorry.
No
The same as Bogdan said. The ports and in Med it was as well as the case. during the pandemic, our ports showed their capacity to react, to be resilient, and all our members kept open during the pandemic, thanks to the big capacity to be flexible and to adapt their working conditions to the new conditions. So I take the opportunity of this webinar to thank all the port workers of our members. Their job was were very incredible during this time. For the pandemic, the strategy mainly followed by the MEDPorts was to invest, and we tried to invest a lot, even if the conditions were very difficult for that, just to keep the activities, just to believe in the future. We we keep on investing very a lot on the port, and especially we developed some project of new terminals, and but not only inside the port, but we try to develop our connection with the rail and the road connectivity, because we want to develop our traffic with the hinterland to find new solutions and to adapt our supply chains passing by our ports to the new condition of the work. And so for the future in MED, we have clearly two axes now, and two axes are privileged to adapt to this change: digitalization and green transition. And we can see that all the projects now integrate these two axes among our members: the digitalization and the green transition. And when I talk about digitalization, I talk about automation, big data, blockchain, autonomous transport, and simulation of virtual reality. So this is very important now to find a solution to go out this crisis and to find the way for the recovery. And these two axes are very important among our members: digitalization and green transition.
Thanks a lot, Philippe. It's quite clear. You finished with really the two main, big points that are the energy and environmental transition and digitalization going together towards some very big policy objectives. And I will switch just to policy now. We have in the maritime sector a number of policies or renewal of policies coming. Namely the revision of the Alternative Fuel Infrastructure Directive, the EU Fuel Maritime, and the revision of the TEN-T regulation. That are main points that could affect ports in the near future. Which are the most important requirements that are coming from your ports, Philippe, in terms of those, let's say, policy initiatives? Which are the main points still to be taken or very important? Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. This when you talk about policy and European policy towards the ports, for the MEDPorts, there is something very important: is the extension of the TEN-T corridors towards the southern ports in MED. Is one of the main ports of point of about what we want from the European institution, because we need to develop our connection with the southern ports in MED. It's very important to achieve a more sustainable European transport network. This is one of the points, and we try to convince the European Union to extend this TEN-T policy. And we have another point: is in MED we need the full support of the European institution for the planned reconversion of natural gas infrastructure to renewable energy, as many of the MEDPorts adapt to the LNG market and invest massively in this field. So this is the two main points of what we expect in MED from the European institutions. The extension of the TNT corridors towards the southern ports and financial support to the development of the new project in the green transition. This is the two main points.
Quite clear in this respect. I think there are things going on, but still I see specifically in the way in which energy and transport could fit together, and also the synergy between 10T and 10E for what is in relation with ports. There is still room for maneuver, let's say. Bogdan, what about the Baltic side?
Well, in the Baltic Sea, we are not expecting any revolution during this round of consultation of European TEN-T policy. But what we are underlying quite often, the Baltic region is growing, and there is more trade. When there is more trade, investment are needed in ports, not only in ports, but also in access to ports. So this is one thing. Secondly, the fair distribution between different modes of transport must be met in next period, since we observed in the past that quite big portion of money went to rail projects. This is fine, but if you spend all money for rail and nothing for ports, it's not that good. Then, of course, Baltic region is very dense, regulated regions with very many environmental regulations. So we say, this is nice, of course, and we are very much interested in having a clean sea, but sometimes you need some support from EU in order to meet this requirement. So this is the third point. And the fourth one is that we have many smaller ports, comprehensive ports, and they need a better recognition, a better status in TEN-T policy. So this is the 4 points that we underline when talking with people responsible for TEN-T policy.
Thanks a lot. And by the way, you gave me also a very nice idea for the next interview that will be, rail against ports. the next one. Okay, let's say finish. Thanks for this, let's say, serious part of it. But let's have just a couple of questions, a little bit more on the funny side, but in between, let's say. So Bogdan, which are some specific things, activities, initiatives in the MEDPorts in which you think that MED could be even better than the Baltic?
Well, yes, this is difficult.
Don't think too much.
This is difficult part because I think we are better almost in everything here in the Baltic. But well, I think you have a lot of sun, which is very good, and you have a good wine. That probably you're also very experienced in handling the wine in your ports. But we are also consuming some wine, so we have this experience as well. And I think you are quite good in football. Sometimes the other teams are also good. So I think you are also quite good in handling all the funds in your ports. Apart from that, I think all the rest is better here. So,
what do you think, Philippe? Is Bogdan right, or is there anything in which we could say that we are better?
Definitively, I will be always agree with my friend Bogdan, because we are all fellows. So I follow him, and he's right. We don't know in our ports how to break the ice inside the ports. We don't do that, and we didn't know that. So, okay, I think he's right, and he's right. We have better teams of football, and so he's fully right for that. And to be just a little bit more serious, I think that I think our ports are quite different, but we share the same one thing. We share a sea between many ports, and with that we have a kind of a common point between Baltic ports and MED ports, we are obliged to share one common good, and so that's why we are very close. And except for the ice and for the sun, we are very close, I think.
Thanks a lot. Very last one. We are more or less at the end of our half an hour. So the very last one, Philippe, if you just thinking about if you would like to pick one port in the Baltic and to move in the Med, which one are you going to pick and why?
The port of Ghent, like this, I would have Bogdan with us in the Med team. But seriously, I will take all the ports of Baltic to be substitute of the Med ports in the first team.
Bogdan?
Well, I'm not sure if I could say which port I could move from Med to Baltic. I would rather move my town, Gdańsk, to somewhere near Barcelona, I think. That's again because of the weather, football, wine, and probably some other stuff as well. And also, I have to say, I have the sentiment to books of Zafon, all these 4 books from Cemetery of Forgotten Books series. But I remember one thing also from Marseille. There was a very good movie, American movie with Hackman, French Connections, the French Connections, made in Marseille. It was a very good movie, so I have good memories also from being in these places. So moving Gdańsk to one of these places would be very good.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to Bogdan Ołdakowski, Secretary General.
You will be most welcome in Med. Most than welcome. Just a word, Alexio, just to
Sure.
say that, in Med, and you are a Mediterranean, Alexio, we talk a lot. And sometimes we talk too much. And so that's why it took a long time to create an association of the MEDPorts. But to be serious, Bogdan and the Baltic Port Organization has been a model for us to build this association. And I remember that before the creation of the MEDPort Association, I discussed with Bogdan about the organization of this kind of association, and Bogdan helped us to think this association. So I would say thank you, Bogdan, for this. Always a pleasure to exchange with you and with you, Alexio, in this context, because we talk about ports, but we are a big family across Europe. So thank you, Bogdan, for your help. If we have this association, in a part, it's your fault.
Well, also, thank you for inviting me, and Philippe, thank you for this kind words. I can promise you, when I be at the pension, then I could become your advisor and move to Marseille.
Thanks a lot. Very number of topics to be shared, across a glass of wine and a beer in near future, hopefully. Thanks a lot to Bogdan Ołdakowski, Secretary General of Baltic Ports, and thanks a lot to Philippe Guillaumet, Secretary General of MEDPorts. It was very nice to have you both, and we for sure will have a number of opportunities to stay together and to work together. Don't forget, for the participants, thanks, and don't forget the next one tomorrow. We have added 3 very nice events. One dedicated in automation in ports, specifically on short sea shipping, in which we are also talking about a new kind of feeder vessels to connect small ports. And we have also one dedicated to the optimization and rail last mile logistics and optimization in shunting maneuvers. And then a very nice interview about innovation and digitalization with Fantian Zusongdan, that is the head of the port process solution in the Port of Hamburg. So thanks a lot to my friends, and see you next time. Enjoy the football this evening. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.